Nebraska, truly win or go home for Ron Paul? Somebody's posted a YouTube. I'll look at that later, but looks like it's an interesting YouTube. Michelle Liberty Martin, we are never going home, she says. Go ahead, Corey.
I have a good question here. It says, Jeff, what are your opinions on what the lawyers for Ron Paul are doing?
Well, my devotion, my commitment is to Dr. Paul, and I signed on mentally and emotionally to support him through this whole process of running for president. And until he says do something else or do it another way, I'm going to keep doing it his way. He has lawyers on the campaign, and they are doing things. Lawyers don't like to talk about what they're doing for their own legal reasons, but where our people are getting hurt and where our people are being defrauded, the Ron Paul's own lawyers and campaign lawyers are aggressively pursuing those cases. They are not when they're in states where the outcome is a moot point anyway. So they're not spending money there. They're trying to spend the money wisely on the most serious cases. So my commitment's to him until he says this whole thing is done, and then I could look into supporting other people and other groups when that happens. What else do you see, Corey, and where are you finding these questions?
Right there on the stream. There's a nice live stream going down here. It says, we're in Nebraska here. We're having a delegate conference call tonight, but I won't give out any updates. Sorry, we are working hard. There's a comment that says, should Ron Paul, the next one's by Jesse Ebert, sorry. Should Ron Paul supporters vote for Gary Johnson?
I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do. Ron Paul supporters are going to vote for whoever they want to vote for. I'll tell you, if it was happening right now, there are people on our campaign who might vote for one person or the other. I don't know. I don't think right now, I'm not in the mood to vote for Mittens or Obama, either one. That's just my personal opinion. I hope I don't get in trouble for that. But I don't give up very easily, and I'd like to see a change. Yeah, I'd like to see an end to the corruption as we experience it in this country. And I don't see that happening right away, but I'm very encouraged, as I've said before, by the 80% of the American public that want to audit the Federal Reserve. That isn't going to go away. Those 80% who've come to that conclusion are not just going to blow away with the wind. They've come to that conclusion for a reason. And it means the educational aspect of this campaign has been very effective.
Jeff Farron has a good question. Does Ron Paul have a confirmed speaking spot at the convention?
No, he doesn't, Jeff. Where'd you find that? I'd like to look at those. Are they
right down in the, just keep scrolling down on the stream.
Yeah.
And he is about 2/3 of the way down.
Okay, where it says live show, is that it?
It should be right there underneath your live show.
Okay. Well, go ahead. You keep feeding them to me, and then I'll find them. If I don't get to yours right away, I'll stick on this tomorrow too and respond. I don't like to say answer because I don't have the answers to all of this, but I do to some, and I will respond and give my 2 cents worth and direct you to some of the other very talented people in the liberty movement that I'm following and reading and studying like you are. Okay, Corey, go ahead. See, I've got my iPhone up here, and I'm talking to Corey, and she's reading off some of these questions and topics.
Scott Dillard has a question. Are we totally at the mercy of the rules of the RNC?
Yeah. uh, it, in life in general, no, but for the running of the convention, yeah, they're pretty. If you have a majority, and they have a majority, they can load the credentials committee, the rules committee. It's still important for us to participate for many reasons, and one of those reasons is that their focus right now of the Romneyites is on this election this year. He's not going to run again next year, but there will be someone who will pick up the banner of liberty and the constitutional movement next time around, and how those primaries and when they'll take place and the laws governing them, all of that, much of that will start flowing out of the rules committee at the RNC this year, in this next couple months. So that's why corralling the delegates and participating right up to the last minute is important for us. Because just think back on this past year, the rules were all stacked for Romney because the McCain people had won the nomination. They didn't care. The Romney people got in there and changed a lot of the rules and influenced the timing of the primaries and the rules governing the primaries. And you can see how it could be an advantage.
Next question, comment is from Angelo Castelli. I've heard your David versus Goliath speech. Any parallels to the Ron Paul campaign?
Yeah. To keep your eye on the princess, keep your eye on the vision, which is to change things. We don't want to just win an argument. You can't really win an argument. People hold to their biases and prejudices, but we want to change things, and we want to make it easier for the middle class and the poor and the 99% of us out here who don't control all the money and the banking. We want to have a chance to participate. We want our children to have a chance to participate. We want the same things that people in the Middle Ages yearned for. We want freedom and liberty. And just the fact that some people are waking up to the idea that that it's slipping away is a victory. We need to keep going.
Here's another one. Doug, what actions is the campaign taking from a legal standpoint? Are any suits filed currently?
Yes, they're doing a lot of things. Let me see if I can help answer that by bringing up something on my computer here to give you an idea of some of the things that are going on. Take a second to load. What's the other question while I'm working on this? What's another one?
Okay. Who are some other Liberty candidates you are following? By Scott Dillard, asking this.
I'm focused right now on Ron Paul, but that's a good question, and I'm going to, as soon as we wrap up this campaign, I'm going to look that over personally, from a personal standpoint, to see who I can support for Congress and Senate and some of these positions. Okay, let's see. As far as lawyers go, I don't know if they're going to want me to get into which states and individuals, but I think I put some of that in one of my last blogs. I mentioned some of the states where we have suits going and why and how. Not my last blog, but the one before our last webinar, or right during the time of our last webinar. So I'll look that up and try to repost that again. But just off the top of my head, I can't name the particular states. Maybe I can find that, but give me another question while I'm looking for that.
Do you have any suggestions on how to keep the Liberty movement unified post Dr. Ron Paul?
I don't know that it has to be unified. It has to be unified from time to time to win elections and to make a difference. But I cherish the diversity and the different opinions and the different ideas. I'm a lot more humble because I didn't understand any of this. So I'm a little more humble now about what I believe, knowing that for so many years I was wrong. So I like to be challenged. I like people with different views. Um, Let me see now if I can find the blog I was looking for. So, but we do have to be unified from time to time if we're going to be effective and we're going to win elections. We have to come together on a common candidate. And it's going to be hard to find one like Ron Paul again. That'll be tough. Okay, let me go to posts, all posts, and I'll find my old one. I wonder if it was this one.
While you're looking that up, here's another question.
Yeah.
What about the voting rules? It's illegal what the GOP has been doing. Jennifer Dines.
What about the what? Hi, Jennifer. Good to. Those rules can be interpreted. See what happened in Alaska, how they manipulated us in Alaska by holding on to the power to interpret the rules that had been written before. So a little clique of people stopped and overcame the will of the majority. Uh, it happened in Alaska, and that could happen at the national convention too. Can't seem to find it right now, what I'm looking for, but I will find it and I will post it. So let's keep going.
Another question by Daniel Abel. Doug, why isn't Ron Paul speaking at the Nebraska State Convention?
I don't know. I don't know. I think he's considered that, and he has to weigh the opportunities he has uh, in for the national convention with um, with a moment like this one, like Nebraska. This is an exciting and a big weekend, and there are people from all over the country coming into the Nebraska.
Your feed disappeared for some reason.
Uh-oh, must be a conspiracy.
I know. I'm refreshing right now as we speak. So.
Oh, I think it was just for you. Mine's okay.
Oh, is it okay?
Yeah.
I can't refresh them for now.
Well, it's your out there.
Probably. I'm not surprised. My server is pokey.
Now I could refresh my page and I can get some of these questions myself. But let me see, where would they be? Where do I find them? I go down.
Should be able to scroll down live.
Where it says friends?
Well, I can't see where I'm
so you can't see. Okay. Okay, Matthew Skinador. Anyone know why Dr. Paul got shut down? That was 11 minutes into that. Let's see. John Gavin from the Daily Paul site. Friends, it happened again. Back on June 1st, Google flagged that it was being a distributor of malware. Today it happened again. Last time, again, it appears to be due to my advertising service. Ha! Julie Gavin. I'm giving you a promotion, Julie. 30 minutes. Let's see. Okay, I don't have anything there. Mr. Wead, can you take a quick second to go over your opinion? This is Scott Drow. Okay. Your opinion of Ben Swann's analysis behind the idea that the RNC rules state that delegates are not bound. An update on the 5-state plurality issue in the Ron Paul campaign. I've been in contact with a number of people, and here's what I know so far. And then Scott Drow gives a rundown. I don't know. I was emailing back and forth to Ben Swann today and trying to give him an update of the information that I was getting and that I was collecting. So we're to dovetail our information, make sure it's the same, so we don't give people, send them on a false goose chase. But Paul Castagnini, in an effort to narrow the scope of content I've recently submitted to Congress, I have drafted the following: a joint resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution empowering a child right to protection and further promoting the sanctity of life. John Bakerman said that at one point the campaign alluded to potentially running third party, but we're just saying that for whatever reason. When did that happen? I remember him getting asked a million times, but never him saying that it was an option or he was thinking about it. No, what I was alluding to was the fact that he wouldn't categorically say, I'm categorically not running a party. He would always hedge on that. He said, I have no interest in it. I said, yes, but are you going to? You rule it out. Absolutely rule it out. He says, I have no intention at all. Yes, but will you rule it out? Remember how he used to do that? So some people thought that was pretty evasive and they wanted to know why he was doing it. And part of why he was doing it was in hopes of keeping the Republican Party honest and in hopes that they would treat his people fairly, so that if they saw so that they would realize if they didn't treat people fairly and democratically and let them participate and vote, shut them down, that they wouldn't get their support in the general election. They would need them. So that was the idea. And the third party threat was supposed to keep them more honest. I don't know how it worked. Maybe it would have been a lot worse if he hadn't have done that, but that was the idea. Back on, Corey?
I am back on. There is one that keeps coming up. We can never win unless we expose algorithmic vote flipping. Kyle Lederman put this up, or Letterman.
Yeah, I have seen that and have looked at that. That's very impressive to me too. And I haven't investigated it, number one, because I don't have the skill to do that, but I haven't been able to get a couple that are friends of mine who do have the skill to confirm it. But it looks very impressive to me, and I would like to see what we can learn about it. I don't know what can be done at this stage of the game, but it could certainly make a difference next time around.
Okay, another one. Paul Farrell says, Doug, you didn't answer that question. Can we have Paul repeat the question?
Yeah. Which question?
I'm not sure. Ask Paul to repeat the question.
All right.
Paul Farrell.
Paul, please repeat your question, and I'll try to get a better answer for you.
And then Kenley Poham says, what can you tell us about the post-campaign movement on the fight for free internet?
Both Dr. Paul and Rand are right in the middle of that. They're like little honeybees collecting support from one end of Washington to the other. I think they're the hope for us keeping the internet alive and going. But I didn't get an update today from either one of them on where we are on that. We do know it is interesting to see annual. It's like water going downhill, the continual effort by some to end internet freedom in this country. It's pretty amazing. So these bills and these ideas, concepts keep popping up in all kinds of places, mostly in for allegedly for security reasons, but uh, they keep coming nonstop. What else you got, Corey? And I wish I could find
Does
where you're
whatever
getting at.
happened in Texas? Big question mark.
Well, it depends. If you mean in the general sense why we didn't do better in Texas, uh, it's the general problem of the television networks. When you have the television networks against you, your access to the people is through the television networks. And we needed millions of dollars to be able to bypass the media like we did in Iowa and like we did in some of these earlier states. To do that in Texas, we'd have needed millions of dollars. And we had to bypass or go around the media because by then they had perfected shutting us down, and uh, and their method was propaganda, was saying he can't be elected, it's over, it's over, it's over, and these various talking points that their talking heads and their hosts and their anchors would repeat from morning till night. And so our numbers reflected that. And we knew going into Texas that we couldn't win in Texas against uh, such power uh, without millions. And keep in mind that we weren't running in a vacuum. We were running against Mitt Romney, and Mitt Romney begun to spend his money to attack us in Texas either, because he was letting the television works and their executives and anchors do it for him. So my point is, even if we'd have raised 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, he could have dropped that to counter in a flash. So Texas was a disappointment.
Next question by Kyle Letterman, sorry, that we should pull an Iceland question mark.
We should pull an Iceland.
Yeah.
Like I don't get it. Like Reykjavik, like Reagan. I, oh, maybe that's what he means. Like Reagan, who just got up at Reykjavik and walked out and said, "Okay, no deal." Yeah, hey, I'm all for that. It doesn't take much to get me on your side for something like that. But uh, uh, Dr. Paul's a real gentleman, and part of the secret to his success, he's done something nobody else has been able to do. He's carried this message further than anybody else has been able to get. Everybody else has gotten shot out of the water or ridiculed or shut down or marginalized out of the mainstream. And not that he hasn't too, but he's done a better job than anybody to pull back the curtain and expose this corruption in the monetary system that's going on. And that's his style. So you live by the sword, you die by the sword. The great success of Dr. Paul is that he's a gentleman and he's humble and he's unthreatening. And that's how he's been able to get in there into the national debates. They may regret that they did that, that they allowed him into the national debates, but he made it.
Another one by Matt Russo. Says, Doug, compared to the 92 presidential campaign of Ross Perot, how do you feel the 2012 campaign ranks? Being that Ross Perot didn't achieve any delegates, he did get 19 million votes. What are your assumptions of how many votes Dr. Paul will get in the general election?
Well, he won't be on the ballot in these states in the general elections because of sore loser laws. These states, you've seen what these states can do and will do in the Republican Party to keep Ron Paul from participating. So you can just imagine what the state governments will do. when it comes to controlling the ballot and whose names are on the ballot in many of these states and what they will, uh, how they will keep his name off. So if he had decided early to run third party, I think the polls show he would have been a very powerful, a very effective. I saw a poll a few months ago that in a three-man race had him polling 17, 18%, which is pretty dramatic. So he would have been a big factor third party. I would have loved to have seen it personally.
Okay. Uh, would sore loser log the plan as VP to say Gary Johnson?
If he ran as a what with Gary Johnson?
A VP?
Oh, VP. Well, Gary Johnson's already picked his VP. So the the disadvantage there is libertarians keep the rules. Republicans don't keep the rules. Democrats don't keep the rules, but libertarians actually keep their own rules, which is ironic for libertarians, huh? But they keep their own rules, and their own rules. They already had their own convention, and they already picked their own vice presidential nominee. So it's a moot point. I don't know that Ron would do it anyway, but it's a moot point.
Elaine as asking, do you now support the GOP and Rand Paul?
I really support Rand Paul. I'm very impressed with Rand Paul. I know people were critical of him for endorsing Mitt Romney. I'm not impressed with Mitt Romney. I have lots and lots of friends who are LDS and who are Mormon, and I really, really respect Latter-day Saints. And because they're so strong on the Constitution, defend the Constitution. And some of the old prophecies about the Constitution hanging by a thread have really come true. So, but if Mormons are strong about the Constitution, and that's why I like them and admire them, Mitt Romney ain't one of them. And he is not strong about the Constitution, not in the way he ran the government of Massachusetts, the People's Republic of Massachusetts, and not the way he's announced what he would do in this campaign, which is virtually let the Federal Reserve rob the nation and continue to rob the nation as Obama did. Obama made him his Secretary of the Treasury. Wow. So, what was the? I can't remember the question, Corey. I'm so tired. I worked so hard today.
I know you did. Sorry, I just lost where I was.
Oh, you forgot it too. What's your excuse? You're not an old man.
Would sore loser laws apply even if he ran as VP to say Gary Johnson? That was the question. Would the sore losers law?
Yeah. And I answered that point because he can't run as VP with Gary Johnson. I don't think that's what it was. I think the question was something about who would you support, maybe. I don't know.
You're probably right. And it's passed down the feed and I can't find it now. Let's see. Really quickly, they keep saying, Daniel Abel keeps saying you have to research Iceland arresting their bankers.
Oh, I thought he was talking about Reykjavik and Reagan, who got up from the table and walked out. And maybe Ron Paul should do that. No, I'll have to study that. That's interesting. That's interesting.
Okay. There's another one, Matt Ross. What is the campaign planning to do with the $3+ million cash on hand?
I have no idea. I think they should. I was going to say something funny, but I guess I better not. In this current atmosphere, I better not. I don't know. I don't know that they have that much on hand in the first place. But I'm sure they'll use it for the cause of liberty, and I don't think that they have that much on hand. They do. They are. I know. In the middle of these legal battles for some of our delegates and for in some of these state battles legally. So a lot of money is going there. I know they are going to help some of the delegates to get to Tampa, and that's turned out to be quite a financial burden and a cost. And um, legally, if they can use some of it to continue this fight in some way to audit the Fed, I don't know if they can, but very strict legally. They do everything very carefully legally. But so I don't know what the options are there. Sorry.
Okay, and then the question I found it again was Elaine. She asked the question, "What is do you now support the GOP and Rand Paul?" That was
it. That was it. Yeah. Thank you, Elaine, for your patience. And I was going to say, what I was going to say is I'm very impressed with Rand Paul. I know a lot of people were upset at him for endorsing Romney, and then I went on to say, I'm not a big Romney fan. I'm sorry. But having said that, you can't compare Rand Paul to any other person in the U.S. Senate when it comes to the cause of liberty and standing up to the military-industrial complex. There's been nobody like him in the U.S. Senate, and on the TSA and the issue of civil liberties. I mean, this is a wonderful thing, getting him elected senator. We need a bunch like him elected senator. So is he doing everything you would do if you were the senator? Maybe not. Maybe you wouldn't have been able to get elected in the first place. And that's the thing. You have to get elected and get in there to do something, to make a difference. And I'm very proud of him and the stands he's taken for liberty. And I love those. You see the YouTube? Corey, have you ever seen the YouTube where Senator Paul is talking about the government regulations and why the government tells him how to flush his toilet? Have you ever seen that?
Oh, you have to send me the link. I'll look it up.
Yeah, you got go to YouTube and look up Rand Paul flushing toilets, and you'll see his exchange with a federal bureaucrat that is dictating what kind of light bulbs we should have and how we should flush our toilets. So, but yeah, I don't agree with everything everybody does. I don't even agree with everything I do, especially things that I believed and said years ago. So I tend to have mercy towards people that are not perfectly doctrinaire, that I don't agree with on everything. And I'm very proud of Dr. Paul, what he's done, and have loved serving him.
One more question. What do you think of Alan West?
I don't know. Sounds like I should find out. It's called monomania that I have. It's all Ron Paul. Alan West. I've been working so much on, there he is, Congressman Alan West. Florida's 22nd Congressional District. Well, I'll read it all tonight and I'll find out. But, okay. You tell us. Post something here on Facebook about Alan West, something that you believe and you care about, and we'll get a discussion going on it. I'd like to hear your opinion.
And Chuck Garcia says, Doug, do you think we will win this thing?
It depends on what you mean by win. If you're talking about the last showdown in Nebraska, everybody in the media and everybody in the state government says it's a lost cause. They didn't expect us to do what we did in Louisiana and many of these other states. And so it's going to reveal a lot. It's going to reveal, finally, lest anybody have any doubts, it's going to reveal a lot about Mitt Romney. They can't blame this on Mitt Romney's son or some politician in Nebraska. They can't blame it on the governor of Nebraska. If they come in there with police and they shut down a democratic process and prevent legitimately and duly elected delegates that happen to favor Ron Paul from even talking or participating in the Nebraska State Convention, it will be a travesty seen around the world, because there are journalists from around the world who are coming to Nebraska who are going to be slipping in there and trying to see what they can see and photograph what they can photograph. So I just hope our people are safe and they're okay, and that the Romneyites don't break and hire police thugs to arrest them and give them a chance, since they were duly elected as delegates, to participate like anybody else should be able to participate in a free country. I don't know what they want. They say they've won the nomination, so what are they so afraid of? And why do they want to hurt innocent men and women who are wanting to participate? They want to lose so badly that they want to disenfranchise the whole liberty movement. It's 14% of the Republican Party, but it goes head to head and Symes wins in head to head polls against Barack Obama. So why would they want to destroy that?
Why should we come to the campaign event in Florida? Will it affect any real change in the Republican Party? This is by Brian Paul.
It's going to be a show. It's going to be a show that will be seen around the world. It will be history. It will be there someday. There will be a true constitutionalist elected president of the United States, and he will restore freedom in this country and will throw a lot of crooks in jail and will open up free markets, and people who have never owned their own homes before will own them, and people who've never had a taste of the good life will be able to build a fortune, and for them and their grandchildren, and the whole country will change. And when that happens, they are going to look back to this, and they're going to look to some of the video snaps taken at Florida and Tampa of the speech of Dr. Paul and others. And they're going to say, this is where it all happened. They'll go to Minneapolis and St. Paul, that McCain convention where Ron Paul was shut out. They'll have some clips from there. But a lot of the international media, here in America, where because of the big banks that finance the networks and the advertise on the networks, they don't legitimately cover the campaign, and they exclude the campaign so outrageously that the whole American people laugh when a comedian makes jokes about it. Everybody in America knows what he's making fun of, and when he ridicules the national media, because it's so well known among the population what they've done. But while they see Dr. Paul as our crazy States, people in other countries who read and follow Dr. Paul think he's the only American public figure who makes sense, who has any brains, who has any humility, who is not so arrogant that he wants to cram America down everybody else's throats and bomb everybody else into submission. He's the only sane American in many countries of the world. And those media, they're going to be in Tampa covering Dr. Paul. I know because today I was on the phone all day with members of the media from all over the world who are coming to Tampa to cover this convention in Tampa. So I'm going to be there. I wouldn't miss that. I think it's going to be a great moment in history. And if the American media will try to avoid it, it'll be very hard to avoid, because their colleagues in the international media, Dutch television will be there, Japanese television will be there. They'll all be covering who is this Dr. Paul that has become a world celebrity, because he's really exposed the bankers in the United States. There are people in India who have figured out what central banks do and how a small percentage of people keep vast numbers of people in abject poverty, and they're aroused by this information, they're empowered by this information. And there is media in the world who will be there to cover Dr. Paul and what he says and what happens in Tampa. And if the Republican National Convention shuts you out, if they will hire police thugs to break your bones, even if you're elected the chairman of your state convention or your county convention, they aren't going to have police thugs at our event. They can't keep you out of our event. And it's your event. It's the people's event. It's a liberty movement constitutional event, and you can be there. You should be there, and you can participate in it. And then you can take your kids to Disney World.
Okay, there is a question that keeps coming up. Really from Michael McKenzie. Sorry, Michael, we're trying to get to the question. More delegates are needed in our state on Saturday. Most, if not all of us, signed our commitment form as uncommitted to avoid being blackballed. If we get those delegates, will the media say we didn't win the plurality because they are not committed to all but are uncommitted? If so, would a notarized commitment letter from all of them to Paul be official?
I don't know. Stay in close touch with Brian Gentry and Jed Coburn when those who are elected as delegates, because they have done a masterful job of corralling and helping and coordinating with the delegates. And I don't know the answer to that because the majority will interpret those rules as well as decide what they should be. So that's problematic. What happened? I just got a message here. Does it look like it's over? Extend the time. Your event is ending in 171 seconds. So, okay, I'll extend the time. 5 minutes, they'll let me.
That's good. Andrew Johnson has another question. What are your thoughts on Conda's rights and all this talk of picking her for VP? Drudge is reporting she is a top pick.
Because she's African American, she's woman, and she's a born-again Christian. And all of that counters Mitt Romney, who's a white man, and LDS. So I would not be a bit surprised if that were the pick. Those of us in the Liberty Movement, it drive us absolutely crazy because she ran the unnecessary war in Iraq that was run off the books that drove this country into the second worst depression in world history, and spent all that, went through 8 years of absolutely hypocrisy, saying no taxes, Bush tax cuts, when in fact they had some of the worst taxes on the poor and the middle class in American history because they printed money out of the Federal Reserve and extended credit that wasn't there and financed a war off the books and thereby diluted the power and the strength of the dollar in everybody's pocket. It's just like they reached into your pocket or the pocket of the poor person and took their money out of it. That's what happened. Even though they didn't call it taxes, they did it by flooding all these millions, $1 trillion, to finance another war in Iraq that wasn't even necessary, with most of the money going to buddies and cronies and friends and companies to pay them off. We had a little war so we could reelect our president. And so am I a big Candy Rice fan? But is it a good political choice? Superb. I guess he's already ripped off anyway. We libertarians, he doesn't want us, and we constitutionalists, he doesn't want us. And if that's the pick, that'll sure be the final signal to us to get out. We don't want you. That's my opinion. That's not the campaign's opinion. Don't get me in trouble. That's just my opinion. I'm true blue.
We have Bill Gray asking, what are your plans, after the convention?
I don't have any plans. I should be thinking about that, I guess. But right now, I'm all in. It's Ron Paul all day long. And everything we can do to this audit the Fed thing, I'm going to do everything that I can afford to do time-wise and career-wise to help see that through to the end. That would be historic. Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Yeah. Eric Johnson has another question. What impact can we realistically expect, if any, on the platform in Tampa?
I don't know. Very, very interesting. People have kind of forgotten about that. It's very interesting because normally the platform in a political party does not matter at all. And it usually doesn't matter because it's being driven by petty political concerns. There was a time when abortion as a discussion on the platform was important because it was a show of strength and helped the abortion movement. This time, I think that it is important because if the party does adopt some of Ron Paul's ideas on their platform, just as the Republican candidates adopted Ron Paul's ideas to compete in this presidential election. If the Republican rank and file, that's Lily barking. she's a libertarian dog. She does whatever she wants. No obedience whatsoever. If some of Dr. Paul's ideas are taken up by the platform committee, it's going to be a nice signal to show that of their bluster, in spite of their cruelty to the new young libertarians, they see the handwriting on the wall, and they're going to try to get to the front of the line.
Okay, we have two other really good questions. Eric, Scott Dillard, what do you think the realistic chances are for the audit of Fed bill?
I think they're real because of the 80% number. I'm not saying that they won't get in there and try to mess it up things. I'm sure they will, but it's got real momentum.
Good. And then Angie Davidson just came in and she said, do you think that the delegates involved in this lawsuit stand a chance of losing their seat at the convention?
Yes, anything can happen. And campaign has lawyers and is fighting this. Yes, anything is possible. They can. I've seen I'm an old guy, so I can remember back to GOP conventions where a duly elected delegation from a whole state could be set aside and a phony delegation put in its place. I've seen that happen, even when it didn't matter and shouldn't have mattered. So the party can do what they want, and that would be quite a show. But we've got some cards to play too at the RNC. All these young people can afford to just lose the election. The Romney people, they gotta have some common sense about being inclusive. It doesn't seem like they do right now. They can't even please Rupert Murdoch. So how are they going to please us?
Got a couple more, and I think your time might be running out again. I'm not sure. But
I got 36 seconds.
Oh boy, Heather Kendall, how is the audit of Fed bill coming up the ranks, particularly different from the 1978 Federal Banking Agency Audit Act? What will ensure it actually happens, as the 1978 does not seem to have very often?
This one's better. Dr. Paul's done a great job with this one, and those attempts have already been made and been defeated. Doesn't mean they won't happen in the Senate, but they have been defeated in the House. Goodbye, everybody. God bless you. Bye-bye. Thank you.